Why can't we grow world-class coffee in our own backyard? Why do we have to import it from halfway around the world? In this episode, I'll perform a forensic dissection of the coffee belt. We'll move beyond simple maps to reveal an invisible cage, built on biological snobbery, brutal history, and the physics of altitude. Welcome to Anatomy of Flavour, brought to you by Specialty Roasters, where we connect the craft of coffee with a cup in your hands. I'm Jared King, your navigator on this journey of taste, for those with good taste. Look at this. Here in Australia, we're a proud bunch when it comes to our soil. We have this specific green and gold kangaroo label, a national scoreboard that tells us exactly how much of our food is homegrown. It's a symbol of security and quality. Now, wherever you're watching this from, you probably have a version of this yourself. Whether it's the Made in USA stamp, the European PDO mark, or a local organic seal. That badge represents pride in mastering the land. It's the gold standard for anything we eat, grow, or export. But in a nation full of farmers that can grow almost anything, why can't we just plant premium Arabica and put a 100% homegrown label on it? It sounds like a fair question. Australia is a global coffee capital. We have some of the world's most elite baristas and demanding coffee drinkers. Back at my place, I have a lemon tree that's absolutely thriving, and macadamia nuts, world class. And don't even get me started on our grapes and our wine. Yet, if you look at the bags that consistently win awards and set a high bar for flavour, you see Ethiopia, you see Colombia, you see Panama. You don't really see Australia. So how is it that my backyard, and most of the developed world, is a graveyard for coffee? The truth is, coffee doesn't care about national pride or our fancy agricultural tech. It's a biological snob. It's locked inside a very specific, invisible cage that wraps around the equator called, accurately enough, the coffee belt. So, what is this invisible cage that defines the coffee belt? Well, while there are over 120 documented species of coffee, the global market is ruthlessly selective. Just 2 of these species account for 98% of the coffee that you drink, Robusta and Arabica. Now, if you ask your trustworthy AI what the ideal temperature to grow Arabica is, you'll get the industry gold standard. Blah, 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 blah. High-grade coffee thrives in a range of 18 to 22 degrees Celsius. Blah, 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 blah. On paper, that sounds perfect for places like Sydney, San Francisco, Rome, or even Melbourne. It's mild, it's comfortable, it's where we like to live. But think about it. Have you ever heard of a San Francisco single origin or a vintage Rome roast? Yeah, exactly. You haven't. It doesn't exist. So you do what anyone else would do. You ask, okay, where does coffee actually grow? And then you see this. The coffee belt. Brazil, Ethiopia, Indonesia. And you think, what? These are tropical furnaces. Those aren't 20-degree sanctuaries. Those are places where the sun is actively trying to melt the pavement. To figure out why my backyard in Sydney is a graveyard for coffee, we need to take a closer look at these market-selected beans. Coffee is a biological snob. It doesn't just want a nice day. It has a long list of demands that would make a rock star blush. It demands stability. No seasons, just permanent autumn. It needs humidity to breathe, and it needs diurnal temperature variation. Warm, sunny days to produce sugar, and cold nights to slow its metabolism and lock that sweetness in. As for its deal breakers, one night of frost at 0 degrees will shatter the cell walls and kill the tree. On the flip side, any extreme heat over 30 degrees will make the plant panic and burn through its nutrient reserves. It's a plant that wants everything and accepts nothing. So, where can we find conditions that suit this picky plant? High-latitude countries like Australia or the US have 20-degree days, but we don't have the consistency. We have winter frosts and summer heat waves. Coffee just can't handle the swing. To find that stability, we need to go to the equator, where seasons like winter and summer don't really exist. But how do you find that cool 20-degree air in a tropical furnace? Well, we have to start looking at the map in 3D instead of 2D. We need to start looking at altitude. In the world of physics, there's a constant that we can exploit. For every 100 meters you climb, the temperature drops 0.6 degrees. So we use the equator for its stability, and we use the mountains to manufacture that cool 20 degrees that never freezes. That is why Arabica lives in the clouds. At 1,500 to 2,000 meters, this is the only place on Earth that it can finally relax and produce the absolute truth of flavor. But there's another prisoner in this invisible cage, and they couldn't be more different. Think of it like this. Arabica is a sleek Italian sports car. Elegant, high performance, and an absolute thrill to drive. But you hit one pothole and it's straight back to the workshop. Then we have Robusta. In the car world, this is your classic Aussie ute, the Toyota Hilux. Built to be thrashed, it'll start in the mud, run in the heat, and basically refuse to die. Robusta doesn't need the mountains. It thrives in the hot, humid lowlands, places where Arabica would simply melt. And frankly, the world needs it. The delicate Arabica plant simply can't meet the global demands for coffee all on its own. So farmers push coffee production into the lower elevations. Unfortunately, life in the lowlands is pretty dangerous. It's teeming with pests. However, Robusta comes armed with a natural defense, caffeine, nearly double the amount found in Arabica. Now, we love caffeine for the buzz, but to a beetle, it's a lethal neurotoxin. It literally poisons everything that tries to eat the plant. And this natural chemical shield is what makes Robusta so robust. But it comes at a cost. That same defense is also why the flavor can be sometimes bitter, woody, even a little rough, because it's the price of survival. When we combine these two blueprints, the high-altitude snob and the lowland warrior, we start to see the architecture of the coffee belt. It's a narrow strip of geography dictated by biology. We need the tropical sun for energy and the rain for growth. But we also need the lack of seasons to stay alive. And thus, we have the invisible cage. So, for all our Aussie pride, we still need to look to the equator for the beans that truly set the bar for flavor. So, we've established that coffee is a biological prisoner, but for centuries it was also a political one. Up until the late 1600s, the Arab world held a total monopoly on coffee. It was the first black gold of the desert, and they guarded it like a state secret. To ensure no one else could grow it, they had a rule. Only dead beans could be exported. If you were caught trying to smuggle out a live seed from Yemen, the penalty was death. But legends are born from rebellion. So enter Baba Buddha, a Sufi monk on a pilgrimage to Mecca in 1670. He didn't just want a cup of coffee, he wanted the future of it. Risking everything, he smuggled out 7 live seeds. But why 7, you ask? Well, in his faith, 7 was a sacred number. He strapped them to his waist, or smuggled them in his beard, depending on your source, and he smuggled them back to the mountains of Mysore, India. That was the first crack. It proved that the cage could be moved if you were brave or crazy enough to try. By 1714, the power had shifted to Europe. The Dutch, having successfully established plantations in Java, were now the world's new coffee kingpins. As a diplomatic power move, the mayor of Amsterdam gifted a young, vibrant coffee tree to King Louis XIV of France. This wasn't just any coffee tree. It was housed in a custom-built greenhouse inside the Jardin des Plantes in Paris, and called the Noble tree. Think about the irony. Today, the ancestor of almost every Arabica tree in the Americas, billions of them, can be traced back to this one great-grandmother tree housed in a Parisian garden. This is where we meet Gabriel de Clear, a French naval officer stationed in Martinique, a volcanic island in the heart of the Caribbean. He saw the potential of the soil there, but he needed a piece of the noble tree. In 1723, he either begged for a clipping or, as legend has it, stole a piece under the cover of night. But getting the plant was the easy part. Crossing the Atlantic was a nightmare no one was truly prepared for. His ship was hunted by pirates, battered by storms, and then, the worst case scenario, the winds died. They were becalmed. For weeks, they sat under scorching sun. Their water rations were cut to almost nothing. Men were dying of thirst. Imagine the choice Clear had to make. Barely able to speak from dehydration, he looked at his last cup of water, his own life force, and he made a decision. He poured it into the cup of his wilting coffee tree. He sacrificed himself for the plant. He risked dying so that the plant could live. Finally, they hit the shores of Martinique, and that single clipping was planted. And 50 years later, 18 million coffee trees were thriving on the island. But we have to be honest. This explosion of coffee happened because empires found the bisection of biology and colonial machinery. They found the high altitudes for stability, but they also found a way to exploit millions of people. So, why no Sydney single origin? Well, on top of the geographic limitations, we weren't colonized by the Dutch or the French. Maybe if we had been, they might have found the geographical sweet spot. Today, scientists are hacking the coffee cage. Researchers at Southern Cross University and innovators like Simon from Zest, they're proving that the map isn't fixed. They're analysing genetics against specific microclimates, trying to identify pockets within Australia that mimic the latitude-altitude offset. It's no longer just about where you are on the map. It's about using data to unlock the invisible cage. Today's coffee belt is redrawn by the Cup of Excellence competition. Origins are now benchmarks of quality. Colombia for structural integrity and balance. Brazil for chocolatey comfort. And Ethiopia for its floral elegance. These origins have optimized their natural gifts to redefine what specialty coffee means in 2026. To experience this collision of geography and science, our Drop 001 features 3 expressions. The classical blend, a Brazil-Colombia mix for velvety chocolate. The regional showcase, a full Colombian embrace of toffee sweetness. And finally, our Ethiopia single origin. Grown at over 2,000 meters, it delivers an explosion of peach flavor. But all the geography and the science in the world only gets us to the door. That final transformation, the bridge between the soil and your cup, belongs to the roaster. Daniel, the founder of Ratio Coffee, is the architect behind these selections. He's someone who typically prefers the quiet roar of the roasting drum to the spotlight. But his philosophy is what binds this whole collection together. Daniel believes that coffee should adapt to you. Rejecting fixed recipes, he meticulously cuts hundreds of samples every year to re-optimize the blend's components based on the latest harvest's unique flavor profiles. He refuses to compromise on consistency, insisting on a strict post-roast blending process. This dedication is finalized with a precision color sorter, guaranteeing 0 defects from over or under roasted beans. His ultimate obsession is one singular, perfect blend that excels across milk, black, espresso, and filter brewing. Because the coffee should support your preference, not the other way around. Drop 001 has officially shipped today. For those who missed out, make sure you join us on this journey for Drop 002. Each release features an elite roaster selected by the specialty roaster team, showcasing their most prized creations and personal roasting philosophies. For those who missed out, don't worry, our journey is just beginning. Sign up for Drop 002 with the link in the description. Down the road, we'll be doing deep dives into specific regions, deconstructing their unique profiles and the exact variables that shape them. Before we wrap up, here's a little bit of social currency for you at your next cafe run. Most people think that coffee grows in the tropics because it loves heat. Yeah, nah. Coffee actually hates the heat. It flees to the equator for stability, not sun. It's looking for a permanent autumn, which is why it climbs mountains to find that cool 20-degree sanctuary that it needs. Don't just drink coffee, understand the anatomy behind it. I'm Jared, and I hope to see you next time. The coffee belt, it wraps around the equator, keeping the coffee warm but cold at the same time. Consistency is what it needs.